So, this film begins with Jill working as a security guard at a university. After her duty is over, Jill steals some expired medication from the lab using a friend to disable the security cameras. She then sells it cheaply to a drug dealer, who underpaid her this time and asked her to bring more. She then goes to her mother-in-law's house, where she was supposed to pick up her children. After Jill's husband died, her children lived with her mother-in-law, as she still lacked custody. Therefore, her aunt had instructed her to leave the children early. Jill now interacts with her children. Her daughter, Matilda, responds well to her, but Nova's bond with her seems a little strained. Jill becomes a little upset by Nova's behavior, narrowly avoiding a collision with a car. She thought she might have lost control of the vehicle. But then, it's shown that all the cars on the road are out of control. Jill saves herself from an oncoming car, but a car coming from the side hits her car, sending it into the river. Jill's car begins to fill with water rapidly, and Jill, fearing for her own life, unties her children's ski beds to pull them out of the car and then out of the water. After much effort, Jill emerges with Nova. But Matilda is gone. The brother arrives and finds Matilda already rescued by 2 officers, who revive her with CPR. Jill thanks the officers, who explain that the lights in the entire town have gone out, and that the malfunctioning traffic signals are likely the reason for so many accidents. The officer tells Jill to go to the hospital immediately, as Jill also has a cut on her forehead. Upon reaching the hospital, they find that many other people had also come. The doctors were perplexed as to how so many people could have been involved in an accident at once. One doctor said, "I think there's a connection between these accidents and the city lights going off." Then another doctor said, "Are we out of our minds? People don't lose their minds while driving because the lights are out." The doctors were understandably confused as to how all these people could have lost control of their vehicles at the same time. Something else was definitely going on here. Now, as the doctors attend to all the critical patients, Jill is left to manage her own treatment. It's here that the hospital reveals a shocking revelation. All the people who had fallen into comas regained consciousness as soon as the lights went out, a miracle. Jill returns to her aunt's house with her children. Aunt tells her that the city's ATMs are not working and no shops accept credit cards. Jill had already lost all her cash. In this precarious situation, Aunt Jill suggests Jill spend the night at her house. Jill can't sleep all night and goes to her old room to look at old pictures of her husband and children. Then she notices that Aunt Jill is still awake. Aunt Jill suggests taking sleeping pills, but Jill refuses. Jill then goes to Matilda, who was asleep at the time. Nova, however, is still awake. She tells Manova to get to bed early. After saying this, she takes her bicycle and heads for her work. She sees many people on the way who were awake all night. They couldn't sleep and had come out to the streets to pass the time. On the way, she runs into the truck dealer to whom she used to sell expired sleeping pills. He demands more sleeping pills from her, saying, "Today, I'll pay you double the money for them because many people who couldn't sleep were craving them." Jill makes the deal and comes to the university. In the morning, after her duty hours, she comes to the lab. No one was at the university at the time. As she starts picking up the pills, military personnel arrive, accompanied by Dr. Murphy. Murphy becomes deeply disappointed when he sees Jill stealing medicine. We learn that Jill was also a student of Dr. Murphy. Dr. Murphy tells her they're building a research center there because no one has been able to sleep since the power outage last evening. He hopes to find a cure for this illness. The scientists must act quickly. Dr. Murphy offers Jill to be a part of this research, but Jill declines. Another of Jill's classmates was already with Dr. Murphy. He explains to Jill how insomnia, or sleep deprivation, can affect humans. It can damage their brains. Prolonged sleep deprivation can cause a person's heart to stop pumping, potentially leading to death. People have already experienced hallucinations due to sleep deprivation. He explains that there is only one woman in the world who can sleep, and by researching her brain activity, they were planning to develop a medicine for other humans. At this moment, Jill remembers that when she came home, Matilda was also asleep, while everyone else was awake. She fears, wondering if Matilda is dead. Without a second thought, she runs back home and hurries to find Matilda. Nova tells her that Grandma took Matilda to church. Her mother-in-law arrives and immediately decides to go. Meanwhile, Jill's classmate has followed. He tells her that they should take Matilda to the research hub. But Jill ignores him, and they set off for church. On the way, they see many people who have lost their minds due to lack of sleep and are acting crazy on the streets. Some are even fighting each other while passing through Gala. They see a dead body, and Jill is devastated by the sight of this man, who was the same man who saved their lives yesterday. Jill asks her classmate what happened to him. He tells her that his nose is bleeding, meaning that his brain has exploded due to lack of sleep. Inside the church, Father was urging Matilda to sleep in front of everyone, believing that seeing Matilda asleep would surely make someone fall asleep. Father began explaining to everyone that this was God's punishment for humanity for their evil deeds. A woman stood up and asked Father, "Can't Matilda be sacrificed? Just as God had sacrificed everyone for the good of all." Before Father could respond, Jill, Nova, and his classmate from prison arrived. They explained that this sleeplessness was severely affecting humans. It was affecting their brains, and that through Matilda, they could find a cure. Father declared that they still wouldn't let Matilda go because scientists would use Matilda as a test subject. Hearing this, Father's friend became angry and declared that the military would be the ones to deal with them. Before he can leave, a police officer shoots him from behind, killing him. Seeing a person die before their eyes, everyone in the church panics and runs out in panic. Matilda had also left the bank with her grandmother. However, when the police officer returns and checks on them at gunpoint, Matilda is gone. He points the gun at Matilda's grandmother and father. When Jal arrives and notices that Matilda is missing, she begins searching for her, finding her hiding near the stairs. Picking Matilda up, she runs towards the woods, having previously instructed Nova to run towards the woods. They arrive at a parking lot, where Jal plans to take Matilda and Nova to a safe place. But here, Nova changes his mind and tells Jal that they should give Matilda to the scientists. If everyone dies, what will Matilda do alone in this world? They leave, and after a short distance, Jill stops for another break. She tells Nova, "I can't hand Matilda over to Murphy because I know him the most." Murphy works as a psychiatrist and scientist for the army and has been using innovative methods to torture people and their prisoners, one of which was sleep deprivation. Jill tells Nova that they are not human, nor do they consider the people they use as their test subjects. "I believe Murphy is a very good person. He even got me a job, but he completely forgets his humanity while working." Nova tells Jal, concern understands that she doesn't want her daughter to be tortured. But he still tells Jill that we have to help all humans, not just Murphy. "I think we should take Matilda to the research hub." They decide to leave and head for the hub. Morning arrives on the way. They see some people standing in the middle of the road. They don't seem to be making any sense. They're also out of their minds. They continue on, and their next stop is a library, where Nova searches for a map that could help them find the research hub. Jill stops there to teach Matilda how to shoot a gun, so that if they die, Matilda can take care of herself, but Matilda doesn't feel comfortable doing this. Jill leaves Matilda and starts looking at the map with Nova. By then, Matilda falls asleep in the car. A short while later, they hear a commotion outside, and it's revealed that all the prisoners had escaped from the prison, and one of them had stolen Jill's car, in the back of which Matilda's was sleeping. Nova and Jel are at a loss for words. Meanwhile, the other prisoners try to attack them, trying to harm them. Jill fires a shot at them to show her strength. The next second, the man who stole the car returns and tells Jill and Nova to get into the car. Jill gets in, but she had held the prisoner at gunpoint to force him to do as they say. Suddenly, their car loses control again. Jill manages to wrest control from the man and balance it. But it turns out it was just a staged attempt by the prisoner to take the gun from Jill. Jill laughs and tells her that the gun doesn't have any bullets. Enraged, he takes the car keys and leaves, Heading to a nearby burned-out field. He finds some clothes in the field, which he changes into. Meanwhile, Nova tells the men that they're taking Matilda to a research hub to develop a medicine for all humans. Hearing this, the man returns to Jill. Handing her his gun, he says, "I'll drop you off at the research hub myself, because I need a cure for this." Meanwhile, night falls, and we see Jill teaching Matilda how to drive. In other words, she's teaching Matilda all the tricks of survival. A little further on, they discover a group of insane people gathered there, capturing and killing others, hanging them upside down, and collecting their blood. Seeing this, Jill immediately tries to remove Matilda from the driver's seat. But just then, a group of them attacks them, and a girl grabs Matilda by her hair. As Jill watches, a screwdriver stabs the girl's hand, and the entire family fights with the people around them. They had also broken all the car's windows. Jill immediately throws her companion away, quickly starts the car, and drives away. They chase the car, but the car is moving too fast. Eventually, they lose sight of the car. After driving for a while, they finally see a light in the forest, and realize that the research hub is located there. Jill tells Nova and Matilda to hide, saying, "I'll go inside first to see if the research hub is safe." On a hunch, she sees the soldiers injecting each other with drugs to keep them sane for a while. Jill sneaks up to the research room and unlocks the door using her lab password. Once inside, she dons a lab coat, so no one recognizes her. Jill sees an old woman sleeping there. A doctor approaches her and asks her to take a blood sample. Jill nods and sees that the woman's hands have been lined with numerous needle marks. This means she's been drained of blood thousands of times. The woman is now writhing in pain. The woman asks Jill, "How long will I have to endure this torture?" Jill tells her, "Trust me, I'll save you." Jill also tells the old woman about her daughter, Matilda, who looks exactly like her. She was able to sleep like an old lady. That means she was normal. Jill tells the old lady that if everyone in the world dies and we all die, please take care of my daughter. The old lady explains, "I don't know how I'm normal. The doctors told me months ago that I would die soon." Just then, Dr. Murphy arrives and is surprised to see Jill. She asks him, "Where is your classmate?" Jill knew he was dead. But she doesn't tell Dr. Murphy the truth, saying, "I haven't seen him since he left the university." She then asks Dr. Murphy if they found a cure. Dr. Murphy explains that while she hasn't found a cure yet, she has developed a medicine that can at least keep their brains in good condition, and that's the same injection these soldiers are administering to each other. But even that medicine couldn't be given to all humans because it had damaged the nervous systems of many people. At this point, Dr. Murphy's eyes well up with tears, and she embraces Jill, saying, "I'm glad you came to help me, but I feel like I can't do anything anymore." Jill, witnessing this, felt herself tearing up, fearing the end of humanity. Suddenly, she sees red flares in the sky, and it's shown that the prisoner, Nova, and Matilda, was heading towards the same CAP. Jelpy immediately rushed to them, but just then, she saw that the army had captured the three of them. Before they could shoot them, Matilda tells them that she is able to sleep. Without Jill's permission, they enter the research hub, and Matilda tells Dr. Murphy that she wants to help all of humanity. Arriving here, Matilda sees that the scientist had beheaded a monkey. But despite that, the monkey was still alive. An attempt was being made to put the monkey to sleep under anesthesia. But this one wasn't sleeping. Dr. Murphy tells Matilda that just as this monkey was being put to sleep, you too will be put to sleep in the same way. And if you fall asleep, the difference between your brain activity and this monkey's brain activity will be noted. That will help us determine the problem and how to find a cure. They administer the same anesthesia to Matilda, and Matil immediately falls asleep. Meanwhile, we are shown Nova and Jell, who have been imprisoned. Jell is now experiencing hallucinations. But still, upon seeing Dr. Murphy approaching her, she asks, "Please release my daughter, spare her." But Dr. Murphy tells her that the future of all humanity depends on her daughter. "We can't leave her." Inside the lab, it's shown that the old lady is now dead. Doctors try to revive her, but she's no longer alive. Meanwhile, Nova's mind also deteriorates and he attacks Jill, cursing her because Jill never raised him. Meanwhile, a soldier arrives and waters Nova. Outside, we see a soldier who, upon seeing Pine fall, thinks a grenade had fallen. This means his mind had also gone blank and he begins firing outside. Hearing the sound of gunfire, the others' minds also go blank, and they begin firing at each other. The sound of gunfire had caused all the soldiers to go completely crazy. Here, a soldier approaches Jill and, mistaking her for his enemy, tries to kill her. But thankfully, the bullet hit Jill on the pipe above, and Jill freed herself as the pipe broke. Nova also tried to escape, but a soldier appeared to shoot her. Just then, the prisoner who had been helping them came running from behind and saved Nova. As Nova ran outside, another soldier was about to shoot them. But before that could happen, another soldier shot the first soldier, and thus, luckily, Nova's life was saved once again. Here, we see a scientist, Dr. Murphy, administer the same injection to restore her brain function for the time being. Murphy, after recovering, wanted to experiment on Matilda. But just then, Jill arrived and began begging Murphy for her daughter's life. Murphy still refused to hand Matilda over to Jill, but then suddenly she collapses, revealing she's dead. In reality, her fellow scientist had deliberately injected her with poison to save the child. Seeing this, Jill thanks the scientist and quickly removes everything from Matil, trying to rescue him and get him away. Before they can escape, several soldiers arrive and start firing bullets. The two have to hide again to avoid their bullets. They also spot Nova, who was mistaking the electric wires for fish because he was having hallucinations due to lack of sleep. They try to dissuade him, but he inserts an iron chopstick into the wires and receives a severe electric shock. The electric shock is so severe that he died. They both start crying, and Matilda quickly runs to retrieve the defibrillator, which she had used to see everyone trying to save the evil woman. When Jill uses the defibrillator to shock Nova, she herself is electrocuted and collapses. The scene cuts to the morning. Matilda, who had been trying to escape the situation, had fallen asleep. When she woke up, she saw Jill lying on top of Nova, crying over her dead son. As Matilda woke up, Jill also looked away from Nova, and Matilda went to her brother Nova. As she shook him, Nova sat up, shocking him. But they realized that Nova wasn't dead, he was just sleeping. This brought them joy beyond words. Before they could even celebrate their happiness, they were overcome with emotion. Just then, a soldier arrives and shoots Jill, leaving them to leave because they had told them they were normal. They bring the wounded Jill out, and Nova apologizes to Jill, who insisted they come to the research hub. Jill loves him and tells him to take care of each other. While they were talking, Matilda was deep in thought. She quickly runs inside and looks at the defibrillator, and in a shocking revelation, she tells Nova and Jill that Nova had died once. His heart had stopped pumping, and Matilda remembered this. Then, after Nova was revived with the help of the defibrillator, Nova fell asleep. "When I was pulled out of the river, I was revived too," she says. This means that to recover from this disease, our lives have to be reset. This disease can be cured if our heart stops and starts working again. The two men see that Jill is about to die. Her condition is dire. They quickly take her to the lake. They first drown her, then rescue her and revive her with CPR. After CPR, she comes back to life, revealing that Matilda's theory was correct, and they have found a cure. The movie ends with them showing them